Welcome to the Church of Judas. Doing some Church of Judas stuff for about 13 minutes maybe. Just a short live. So if you're in here now, please stick around. Tap the screen, leave comments. Church of Judas replaces all patriarchy Christianity and war and Trumpism. So by replacing patriarchy Christianity, we end war and Trumpism. I was just sharing all this with a live, that the guy was a very good host and he kind of just let me talk. He didn't have a lot to say to respond. And even though I did get some followers out of that live, I think some people heard what I had to say and were interested, I figured even though TikTok doesn't really like shuffling people into my lives, I'll go ahead and talk about it here in case this makes the difference. This is a prophecy that Jesus gave Judas. It was revealed in the Gospel of Judas in 2006 and has been secret the entire time, which is part of what proves the prophecy, because Jesus tells Judas, you're going to be hated for centuries or eons for a long period of time. You're going to be hated for a long period of time, and then your truth will be revealed and your church will replace all the other churches. So Jesus is referring to all the Christian churches that currently exist, thousands or millions of them, and they all get replaced by one church. When you think about it, it's a very striking contrast to the way churches have been, all splintered and separate and individualized. Well, it's probably because they don't really have a whole lot of Jesus in them. Jesus isn't that associated with those churches. Those churches are, for the most part, the bigger they are, the more they're like this. Those churches are Antichrist churches. And Jesus saw this was going to happen in advance. He set Judas aside. Judas is not revered or worshipped or honored by any church that I'm aware of. So he set Judas aside outside of Christianity so that Judas can come back and replace Christianity. We can see the evils of Christianity in Trump and Putin and the mustache guy from Germany. We don't blame Jesus for Trump. I like to ask people, do we blame Jesus for Trump? Do we blame Jesus for Putin? Do we blame Jesus for the mustache man? But we should blame Christianity, because Christianity was instrumental in all of these Antichrist leaders. So the good thing about an Antichrist tyrant is they are literally Antichrist. Putin, Trump, fit the bill. And all you got to do is think, say, and do the exact opposite of what they do. Jesus. There you go. Easiest way to find Jesus is you have an Antichrist and you recognize it's the Antichrist and do the opposite. Jesus. There you go. So, for instance, Trump worships or claims to worship God. Trump claims to represent God. Well, God is evil. God is an evil lie to obstruct people from the goddess. The goddess is real. God is an evil lie. Small town travel came and went. Angel Batista is here. We're here talking about, this is the Church of Judas. It replaces all patriarchy Christianity, which also ends Trumpism, war, and empire. So if you have an interest in that, let me know your interest. Welcome, Judith Uceda. Welcome. Oh, I travel for peace. I don't know if that means you're here or if that means that they want me to invite you. I guess I will invite you because you are a thoughtful person. So anyway, this is about the Church of Judas. I'm only going to be on for about 8 more minutes, so you don't have to put up with much of this. But it is about replacing patriarchy, ending patriarchy, replacing patriarchy Christian churches. This is Jesus' secret plan that he gave Judas. It was revealed in 2006, but it was told in like the year 30-something. It was told from Jesus to Judas in the days before something happened to both of them. Now, it explains a lot. It really kind of resolves all the conflict within Christianity. The conflict, the tension between love and hate. Well, guess what? Jesus is the love part. Antichrist churches are the hate part. Evil empires, colonizers are the hate part. That's the part of Christianity that needs to be replaced and repurposed. And one way to do it is, once you've taken the churches, they can sell all their stuff. Some buildings might still be useful for certain things, just like buildings have been useful for support groups and stuff with churches all along. But we maximize that stuff and we minimize the authoritarian stuff, minimize anything that contributes to patriarchy, minimize it to zero, because there will be no patriarchy, war, or Trumpism in the future. Now, how do we get to that future? Well, Gospel of Judas is one way. Church of Judas is one way. And really a major way. I mean, if we repurpose the Christian church, Christianity is about 1/6 of the planet. And we repurpose the Christian church, that has an effect not only on churches and people in those churches and communities connected to those churches, nations connected to those churches, but it even has an effect on other religions, a knock-on effect. Other religions are likely to ask themselves, wait, why is Christianity completely different? Why is Christianity revolutionizing itself at this point? Why is Christianity reaching a final form that's the opposite of what it has been so far? Maybe we should do the same. Maybe we should root out the patriarchy in our religions. Now, I'm not saying patriarchy didn't crop up in any other religion on its own. It probably did. But Christianity, evangelism, empire, colonialism maximized that. Really, Christianity is a corrupt religion. It's not really on par with the other religions and never has been, but its final form can be. The final form of Christianity, instead of insisting upon itself trying to convert people because of its own insecurity about its own inherent foundational lies, a purified or a feminized or a non-patriarchal Christianity would not be trying to convert oppress people, boarding school people into it, scare people into it with hell. All these concepts are part of an evil God trying to distract people from the true goddess. The reason why Jesus gives Judas this secret prophecy in the first place is because Judas says to him, I know you're from the immortal realm of Barbelo, which is a feminine goddess name for an ultimate divine being, but shows that Jesus is from the goddess, not God. Also, the Gospel of Judas as we have it is missing the first half maybe, but where it picks up, where it starts, the fragment we have starts with Jesus laughing at the disciples because they don't know who they're worshiping. He says, you don't know who you really are worshiping because they worship God, a false God, when Jesus is from the goddess. Now, when you think about how much Christianity changes if you replace God with the goddess, that's a pretty big start right there. Another way to change Christianity is have Christians ask themselves, hey, if we were wrong about Judas, if we accept this new prophecy where Jesus appointed Judas to do this thing, asked him to do it, and Judas willingly did it, sacrificing his reputation for centuries, then if Judas is not a betrayer of Jesus, then actually he's the only male disciple who didn't betray Jesus, because all the other ones did, by repeating the story that Judas was somehow wrong. Now, maybe they didn't know better at the time, but there were things they knew better. That's also from the Gospel of Mary, revealed in 1896, where Jesus tells all the disciples that they should follow Mary. Mary's reminding them of this in our Gospel, and Peter mansplains it away and says, well, I'm a man and the world respects men, so even though we all heard Jesus say that you should be our leader and we should follow you, Mary Magdalene, we're not going to be doing that because patriarchy. Now, that's where it went corrupt, and the religion's been corrupt since then, since day 5. But Jesus knew that it was going to be corrupt, so he had a plan to replace it, and that plan is Church of Judas. All right, I've gone through the cycle of people that TikTok brought in. I'll read all your names, because you're now all in the Church of Judas, or you've been here for a second anyway. But yeah, it's completely welcoming. There's no prerequisites. So, the new people in the Church of Judas, thanks to TikTok: Small Town Travel, Angel Batista, Judith Ucida, user 2561988676276, 886276, Chris Reeves, JD Esmond PT, user 2907, Cat on Me, 2907-513-8717. Sorry, we're talking about how to end Trumpism. I'm sure you'll be glad about that. How Church of Judas replaces all patriarchy, Christianity, war, and Trumpism. And it's the easiest, simplest way to end Trumpism. I'm saying this with emphasis because the person has a Trump profile picture. So Trump is the Antichrist. So the good thing about having an Antichrist like Trump or Putin or the Mustache Man is if you do the opposite, Jesus. You got Jesus. Easy way to find Jesus. Just do the opposite of Antichrist, Trump, and Putin and their followers. So we got Chris Reeves, user 25619886276, Chris Reeves, Maria Mia 26, J Desmond PT, user 2907-513-8717, Tucker Nestor, Roscoe Moria, Donna, Darlene Hylton, Chris Ale, Amber. Because the person with the Trump profile picture is still in here, I get to look forward to maybe they're going to leave a comment. Wow, what a treat. Christopher Ale, Amber, Alex Julian Jimenez. Join live as a guest. Oh, whoops, I actually hit that. Judy, EzraSigma.com, Gloria Davis 043, Mia, user 30658037429, Pippin, that's what reminded me to read the, oh my gosh, the person with the Trump face is we the people. Nope, you're not the people. You're the Trump-Butiniers. You're the betrayers of humanity. And you betrayed USA and you betrayed Jesus. So just so you know, following the Antichrist Trump is a betrayal of humanity, USA, and Jesus. I'm only going to go for 2 more minutes. So it'll be full 13 minutes for Church of Judas. Welcome to the Church of Judas. We the people, Mav Raki, Ange C 8608, and Kaboom was suggested to invite. So Brian B. I'm glad I scared the Trump-Putineer enough that they didn't even bother commenting. Goodbye, Trump-Putineer. Welcome to the Church of Judas, Jack Smith. And Spider-Man. Oh, cool, Spider-Man. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. But yeah, Church of Judas is about replacing patriarchy, Christianity, war, and Trumpism. I'm only going to be live for about 1 more minute. So, welcome to the Church of Judas. Jesus is from the goddess. Jesus saw how bad Christianity was going to become. Jesus knew that allowing Christianity to become the foundation of empires would be the way of destroying and collapsing those empires once the truth comes out. So it was kind of a trap, kind of a giant trap for 2,000 years to trap all these evil people, surrounded by good people, people who want to believe in Jesus but are misled by an evil leader such as Trump or Putin or their preacher. So these Antichrist leaders prove why the church needs to get replaced, prove why the church itself wasn't doing Jesus's wishes, which again started at the very beginning from Gospel of Mary when Jesus told them all to follow Mary, and they all defied him and followed Peter instead because he mansplained it away. So this is emphasizing that patriarchy, the mansplaining part, is the root of the evil, and by rooting that out, we get back to what Jesus wanted in the first place. We get to Christianity's final form, otherwise known as the Church of Judas. Welcome to the Church of Judas, Charlie, and I can't read your name quite right, but it's okay because you passed right through, because TikTok has selected people for this live that are not ready for this live. But thankfully, I'll keep it short so I can post it so people in the future can watch it. Welcome to the Church of Judas. Everybody's in. There's no prerequisites. There's no authority. The authority is just the truth. As well as you can understand and communicate the truth, that's the authority. And so we all share the same truth. Jesus is good. Jesus is love. Christianity, not so much. Christianity was too much Antichrist hate, colonialism, empire, and tyranny. So that contrast is what we're going to reconcile with Judas by basically the same way that they say Judas sacrificed the body of Christ. Well, they also call the church the body of Christ. And Judas, the return of Judas, the spiritual Judas, here in 2,000 years later, is going to sacrifice the churches, the body of Christ, because the churches have gone Antichrist. And that's evidenced by Trump and Putin and their other idols who have been supported by the evils of Antichrist Christianity. And yet, when it's repurposed to Church of Judas, we get rid of that stuff and we take down all the tyrants with it. I also call it Pillar Revolution because we can do it from bed, just with good information. Once we get that information to someone who can understand and respond. Didn't happen this time, but it could happen in the future. Thanks, TikTok. Thanks, everybody. Love you. See you soon. Thanks, Judas. Thanks, Jesus. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Goddess. Or the Church of Judas blessing that I came up with so many years ago, haven't used probably in a year or so, is Goddess bless you, Jesus bless you, Judas bless you, I bless you, bless yourself. And Mary bless you. If I didn't say it, Goddess bless you, Jesus bless you, Mary bless you, Judas bless you, I bless you, and bless yourself. Thanks. Have a good day. And welcome to the Church of Judas. Spread the word. We are taking their churches. Sorry, I was going to end it, but I won't right now because I will say, while they're obsessed with burning down our libraries and oppressing people in bathrooms, we are taking their churches. We are repurposing their churches. We are reusing all the funds and wealth of their churches for reparations and to do something to undo the evils that the church has done all this time. This is Church of Judas. Welcome, Kenobi. May the force be with you. And this is the prophecy that Jesus gave Judas to replace all patriarchy Christianity, war, and Trumpism. By replacing patriarchy Christianity, We end war. We end Trumpism. And hey, now more than ever, I would love it if Trump, I shouldn't say I would love for Trump to live to see this happen. I would love for him to see it happen. I don't really care whether he does that in physical form or not. But it is happening. It's already started happening. The first part of the prophecy came true. Jesus told Judas, your church will replace all patriarchy Christian churches. All the churches that are made in my name will be replaced by your church, Judas. And he said this will happen after he's hated for centuries, which also happened, and after this is all kept secret for centuries, which also happened. All right, we got Kenobi out of here. Alex, Julie, and Jim, and Dog Whisperer, are you guys interested in the Church of Judas replacing and ending all patriarchy Christianity, and Trumpism and war? If you're interested in ending war and Trumpism, tap the screen. We'll just do it that way because I was about to shut it down, but I can repeat myself. If you're interested in ending war and Trumpism, tap the screen. This is Church of Judas. If you're interested in ending war and Trumpism, tap the screen. Welcome to the Church of Judas, where we replace all patriarchy Christianity, war, and Trumpism. And a troll came in to encourage me to end the live, which I was already going to do, which the only reason I'm not doing it is because the troll is leaving comments. Go figure. Okay, so the troll is gone. Sasha the troll is gone. Let's just talk about Sasha the troll for a second. Sasha the troll has 33 followers. Uses the face of someone with some type of disability or like some type of condition that makes their face look weird. Has 33 followers and is following 83 people. So, welcome to TikTok. But yeah, you should probably be on Facebook or Twitter because this isn't the place for that. So, one of my favorite content creators just liked one of my videos. I doubt that she's going to come into the live, but just in case. Hi, Satire. Nice to see you here. Just telling everybody about Church of Judas, how we replace all patriarchy, Christianity, war, and Trumpism. So it's just a simple plan for good. Report yourself. What, for bullying you? For bullying you for being a fake account? For bullying you for being a troll? For pointing out that you're a troll by reading the number of followers you have? By saying welcome to TikTok? So Trump Putineers are Space Force in the streets, Flat Earth in the sheets. Of course, this guy probably thinks, this Trump Putineer troll probably thinks that Elon Musk stands for free speech, and that's a good thing. But when I say something they can't handle, they got to report. Because they're afraid. Because they're afraid of the truth. They've always been afraid of the truth. They're pretty much allergic to the truth. That's the defining characteristic of Trump Putineers. Hello, Bethany Hollis. Welcome to the Church of Judas. Just going to replace patriarchy Christianity and end war and Trumpism. And it scared a troll. So ignore the comments from the scared troll. I'll probably be closing it down soon. If you like, I can continue with explaining how the Church of Judas replaces all patriarchy Christianity. So it's replacing all their churches. So you've heard of the Catholic Church, you've heard of the Orthodox churches, you've heard of the evangelical churches, Baptist, Methodist, other denominations. Episcopalian you've heard of recently, the Anglican Church. You're not a viewer. You're a troll. Don't you know that trolls don't matter? Haven't you figured that out yet? That this is the most mattering you've ever done, getting me to respond to your comment. And it's the least mattering part of my live. Like, of course you're trying to ruin my life by being a terrible troll. It's what you do. It's all I get on YouTube. Coping. What does coping mean? I don't speak insa-libertarian. So yeah, this is really terrible. Just having, I guess I can just block you. What's the point of that? Oh, you're not worth it. Point being, we end Trumpism. Trolls get scared when you're going to end Trumpism because it's the only value they have in their life. They don't have lives. They don't have anything going on. If they had something going on, they wouldn't be so susceptible to Trump and Putin. Please, I do not need Trump Putineer trolls in my life. This isn't a ops-only discussion. This isn't a, would you like to debate Jesus? This is, Jesus has a plan to repurpose your churches. The reason your churches need to be repurposed are very clear through the evidence of Trump. Trump and other antichrist figures like Putin have proven why. Oh my gosh, the troll went away and came back. Oh no, it's not the troll. Okay, great. Hi, welcome to the live. Sorry about the troll. There was a Trump-Putineer here who wants to report and censor me because TikTok isn't censoring people to protect Trump enough. Oh, poor Trump. Poor Trump. He can't protect himself from words. He can't protect himself from the truth. We all have to report. We all have to report. So anyway, false reports from Trump-Putineers prove that you guys aren't American. You guys don't have any American ideals. You guys are afraid of free speech. You guys are afraid of freedom of religion. But yeah, church, the anti-Christian laws that Trump is trying to pass, he's the Antichrist. So those laws will apply to him. And they need to know we are taking their churches. Let any Christian know Judas is repurposing their churches as per Jesus's plan. So, thanks to TikTok for selecting only a troll who's willing to comment. Nice one, TikTok. But, oh wait, there was a guest request. Who was the guest request? Anyway, friends not watching this live. Well, I'll just invite them all. I guess I could have done that to begin with. Huh. What an interesting feature. I kind of feel like I should do that. One guest request. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now I found you. Hey, what's up? Hello. Did you make it in? I got my thumb hovering over the disconnect button just in case, but yeah, we'll just do that because you don't seem to have made it in. Bye. Thanks for trying though, Alex, Julie, and Jim. If that was a intentional thing. Oh my gosh, how do I just fix that? If that was an intentional thing, then oh gosh, that was not fun. That was the cat. Great. So yeah, I guess it's definitely time to close this out because I can't figure out how to get back to the thing. Well, no, I'll invite everybody and then we'll have a panel. Let's do it that way. Welcome to the Church of Judas. Yeah, that's okay. We tried it. It didn't work. But you want to come up? Come on up. Hello. Did it work? Is it working? Is it going to work?
What's up, Putin? I've been popping.
How are you doing? Are you having a good day?
Not as not as good as yours. I saw you being all agitated with somebody. I'm like, man, I want to see what Putin is doing because I like your
Oh yeah,
content.
it was just a it was just a troll. It was just a Trumper. Somebody who likes Trump, so they don't really have any ideas, or they just get triggered. They get triggered by anything true. So welcome to the Church of Judas. I was doing this one on Church of Judas, but you've heard me talk about this before, huh?
No.
Oh, well, welcome. It's just a prophecy that Jesus gave Judas that replaces all patriarchy Christianity. And when it
Yeah.
does that, when you replace patriarchy Christianity, you end war and you end Trumpism. So Trumpism is a good word to cover kind of all the evil stuff in the world. I can't think of really anything evil that doesn't fall under Trumpism.
Yeah.
And we're going to end it. And it's kind of nice that we've got it all tied up in one Trumpy package.
Well, I mean that'd be good because I don't know, we're creating too many problems in America and the world.
Yeah, he is creating a lot of problems, or he's kind of spearheading the problems. He's kind of the poster boy for the problems, poster boy for patriarchy. Thanks for coming, guys. This is my first time inviting people to my stream, so hopefully it's not bothering anybody. But anyway, welcome to the Church of Judas. We're replacing all patriarchy Christianity and Trumpism. So if you have any type of defensiveness about ending Trumpism, this is not the place for you. If you're ready to end Trumpism, if you're ready to end patriarchy, if you're ready to end war, you're in the right place. Now, today I'm specifically talking about the Church of Judas. Judas replaces all patriarchy Christianity. This is the task that Jesus set him aside to do. First of all, Jesus asked him to do what he did, so he didn't betray Jesus. All the other male disciples betrayed him. The female disciples did not necessarily betray him, but the male disciples did. The troll is back. Yay! We got our Trump-near troll back. So sorry if I have a negative energy towards the troll. I'm representing Jesus and Judas here, and true Christianity, or what Christianity final form will be. Antichrist leaders such as Trump and Putin and the mustache guy, Antichrist leaders and their Antichrist followers are not really welcome. And I mean, you're welcome to listen, but your words aren't going to matter here. Your words aren't going to do anything other than be a way of repurposing your mind. Y'all feel free to jump in anytime you want. Feel free to interrupt me. Otherwise, I keep talking because there's a lot to be said. Yeah, so I'm talking about the Gospel of Judas. Thanks for the First Timothy. If you want to type it out, I don't have a Bible handy to look that up. But the nice thing about the Gospel of Judas is it replaces patriarchy Christianity. So a lot of the Christianity that we have is antichrist and wrong, which is really clearly evident to anyone paying attention. And the fruits of that Christianity, Trump and Putin, are of course evil and antichrist. The nice thing about that is you just oppose the evil antichrist. You just do the opposite of what Trump says, do the opposite of what Trump does, and you got Jesus. It's really simple. How opposite does it have to be? I don't know. I can't think of anything that he stands for or believes or says that Jesus would agree with. I'll put it this way. When he asked the Bishop Buddy to apologize for mentioning that Jesus represents mercy, that he insisted that she would have to apologize to him for saying that because he was offended by being called out for being antichrist, really. She was right, he was wrong. There's no world in which Jesus is standing behind Trump cheering, "No mercy, get them, deport them, go Romans." That's not what Jesus is about. Jesus is about the opposite. Are you feeling me, Alex?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's that. I don't think America is what they want, really. Most of us.
I mean, there's some good Americans still. There's some good churches still. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I can tell you about Jesus, that guy. You probably know the Antichrist. You probably know Jesus as the Antichrist, who you associate with Trump. That's why you're offended and hurt right now. That guy. Sorry, I'm responding to the comments. But yeah, I mean, there's good Christians. There's good churches. There's 4 churches at least that are suing Trump right
I
now.
mean, like, there's some. I speak Spanish too. I'm an immigrant. You can call me immigrant. That guy, the other guy, anybody can call me immigrant. I don't care. I know damn well that the American system.
Thank you for immigrating. I think our immigrants are the
Yeah.
best Americans. I'll put it that way. Immigrants and indigenous people are the best Americans. The rest of us are figuring it out.
Well, not everybody's perfect either. A lot of us have, but like, all
Did
I
you
can.
immigrate to America?
Excuse me.
Did you immigrate to America?
Yes, sir.
Cool. And do
Hmm.
you like it? Does it feel welcoming even with all the bad stuff going on?
Sure. Yeah.
The people are welcoming. Like the news is not welcoming, but the people.
No, the media, this new technology, is good, but I don't think we. Well, I'm not blaming technology either. I blame it really like humans the way we are. But
Even TikTok was better a month ago before it went Trumpy. TikTok is not as good as it used to be, but it's still better than the other ones. The other ones are right-wing hate speech platforms. Facebook and Twitter, I don't call them Facebook and Twitter. I call them Facebook and Twitter because that's what they are. They're right-wing. They've been right-wing for years. Even before Musk took over Twitter, it was right-wing. I'll put it this way. Twitter suspended my account in, say, 2009.
damn.
Suspended me for, 16 years now? And I don't say mean things. I'm not a mean person. I just have things to say that contradict their agenda and the patriarchy, that contradicts fascism. They can't abide that. Um,
It's actually real simple. Like a lot of these. I'm sorry, but I have to say at least 95% of the people who claim to be Christian or Christ have no even conception of what the Bible speaks of or anything else. And you can break this down even further, and because actually there's no gospels that are actually in the canonized Bible that actually has the words of Christ. It's assumed that they're his words, but it's not. There's no gospel of Christ. So
but I
um,
can I can tell by the way you said that you know Jesus and you know who Jesus is, and you know how the churches have fallen astray or gone completely the opposite of Jesus.
Huh.
they okay.
I mean, why would there be so many bad Christians if the churches were doing a good job?
Because
Good question.
well, it's actually it's not a difficult question. It's because of greed. It's inherent greed. If you think about it, okay, even a church, even if the preacher, pastor, whoever, even the sermons, it does not matter because people are inherently greedy, and over the centuries, where we've had more access to more, technology and everything, people have become even more greedy. They don't care about the community anymore. You don't have people growing crops and going up to their neighbor and say, "Hey, I had extra. Would you like some?"
I want to
We
push
don't have.
back
We
on
don't.
the idea of people being inherently greedy. I know what
Okay.
you're saying. I know what you're saying about people being inherently greedy, but I want to push back a little bit. I would say that maybe greedy people have been able to take power in any given society. Greedy people have been able to take power until people stop them. And then the manner in which people stop those greedy people, like when we stop Elon Musk, for instance, if we deport Elon Musk and take all his property and all his companies, that'll be a lesson to the next techno tyrant. Um, when they just pulled the king down, when they just everything they've done to stop the greedy person who's taken over the power is justified, and it should have been a lesson to greedy people to stop being greedy. But I want to take it back a little bit more for like the history of religion and spirituality. The way I intuitively understand it, and it seems to fit with history, is women led communities for thousands or millions of years. Women, and say even beautiful people of all genders, led society for thousands and millions of years. And because these people were beautiful, just like they do today, people maybe gave them a little more resources or tried to give them favors and stuff to incur their favor as the leader, or also just to have some time and attention from the beautiful woman who led your community. That happened for millions of years. Now I'm from the southeast in America, where they have a phrase that this is the oldest profession. Selling affection is the oldest profession, but preaching is the second oldest profession. And they say that really proud. Like, hey, people selling affection, people wanted to give favors to get their attention or get their favor, was the first job anybody had beyond, just hunting and gathering and fishing and all that stuff. But the second job that maybe popped up hundreds of thousands of years later was some ugly man who was not in power because he wasn't a beautiful woman. And of course, as these societies go along and the beautiful women are leaders, then their children are also the even more beautiful women who have even more free time to become even more intelligent. So you get the most intelligent people while you're naturally responding to people's desire to court and have favor with beauty, with nature. But then you get an evil, ugly man who says, I want that power. You get an evil, greedy, ugly man who says, I want that power. So I'm going to make up a lie. I'm going to make up some type of God, some type of fear system, some type of structure. So while people were worshiping a goddess and following a woman, and that woman kept becoming generation after generation more and more beautiful, or those women became more and more beautiful, and everything was great, then some ugly dude got jealous and said, I'm going to steal that power. And made up a god, and made up hell, and made up sex shame, and made up sexism, and made up patriarchy.
Are
And
you
that
talking
happened.
about Paul? Are you talking about Paul?
Yeah, I mean, Paul did it
Okay,
too.
I see. I literally just joined because I just got the notification to join, and I didn't hear anything except for like we were following beautiful women, and then an ugly guy got jealous. Bro, how did I know that you're talking about Paul? Because he is the narcissistic, self-proclaimed apostle who wrote the Bible, which created Christianity. And do you know how it blew my mind to find out that this bitch literally is a self-proclaimed apostle? Do you know how narcissistic and mentally ill you have to be to literally proclaim yourself as one of Jesus's followers? And he never even met the dude. And it's well documented. Okay, it's not well documented, but it is documented. And if you look really hard, you can find it. There's documentation of Paul literally beefing with actual apostles. Like, they were like, Paul, bro, like, we don't like what you're saying. Like, stop saying this shit. Like, you don't know what Jesus Christ is talking about. Like, literally, Jesus Christ's brother went, like, out of his way to, like, send letters to him, like, saying, like, stop talking. Like, stop.
Stop ruining it for everyone. Yeah, he's a hijacker. Paul's a hijacker.
I mean, and here's the thing, like, just by, like, reading through, because the Bible is, like, 80%, like, letters of Paul, right? To, like, the Romans and, like, et cetera, et cetera. If you read through it, like, I honestly don't think Paul is, like, this malicious, you know, evil. Like, I don't think he knew what he was doing. I think that he was just being true to himself. Like, unfortunately, it's just a twisted narrative of, like, Jesus Christ's actual teachings. But I do think the Vatican, the actual source of evil, like the actual source of intended malicious evil, they saw what Paul was doing, and they were like, oh, this, like, is perfect. Like, what he's saying fits our narrative. Let's prop him up with the power that they did, like, have. Let's prop him up and let him be the spokesperson for Jesus Christ. And that's why we have all of these lost gospels that were discovered, like, in what, like, the 1940s? Like, all of these lost gospels directly contradict exactly what Paul was saying. Well, you could even see it in, like, today, right? Like, churches all over America are worried about, like, the fact that no one is joining. All of the young people, we can't help but see the hypocrisy in the church's teachings. They're all leaving the church or just not joining. Like, we're not giving the church our time of day because of all of the hypocrisy that they just cannot explain without literally crumbling the institution of Christianity.
Would you like to know Jesus' secret plan to fix it? And I'm not self-appointing myself as an apostle. I'm just interpreting one of those lost gospels.
I would love to hear your interpretation. And yeah. I would never think that you're self-proclaiming yourself as an apostle. Paul straight up self-proclaimed himself as an apostle, like verbatim.
The whole problem is authority. The problem is authority, and how do you gain and have authority? My conception that I've come through the Gospel of Judas is the authority is just the truth. The truth is the authority. A little kid can explain it, can understand and explain it. Sometimes they can understand and explain it way better than I can. Anybody can. Anybody can understand and explain the truth if it's really the truth, and they can explain it better.
It goes both ways, right? It's like if you have the truth, then you have authority. But also it goes both ways, as in those with authority, like people in positions of power, they have quote unquote the truth.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna denounce every church, because there's good churches. There's 4 churches suing Trump right now. Why there aren't 40,000 churches suing Trump right now shows you that the churches are antichrist. Now, the point being that even in an antichrist church, if Jesus is real, he can still select people, he can still influence people, he can still...
Don't judge me for driving.
Oh no, you're fine. I do it all the time. Check my content. I've got so many moving camera videos. But yeah, so the Gospel of Judas was revealed in 2006. The Gospel of Mary was revealed in 1896. And most people don't really know either one, but to me, they kind of work together. Because the Gospel of Mary is Jesus told Mary, Jesus told all the disciples, you're going to listen to Mary after I'm gone. This is Mary Magdalene. You're going to listen to Mary Magdalene because she's the one who's got it. The rest of you do not have it. And that's even in the Bible. Jesus told the disciples all the time, you guys aren't getting it. But Mary Magdalene got it. So if they listened to Mary Magdalene, things would have progressed smoothly. but they didn't.
Yeah.
And Jesus
She's a
knew
woman.
that.
And that's
Right,
why Mary Magdalene in the Bible is just simply the woman with like 7 curses that were like cast out of her by
Again,
Jesus.
and
it's like it
that's
literally doesn't make sense because she was there at his crucifixion with his mother. Why would just like a simple fan? They make her out to be like just like a groupie or something like that. She
had
and some people say
was
she's
the
his wife
disciple
and
of
they
all
had kids.
disciples. She was his partner. I swear, like they were partners. Like because Jesus was like, and Christians will reject this because they need Jesus to be like their God, and so they need Jesus to be, you know, more than just a man. But the reality is that he was just a man. The Muslims have this correct. They honor Jesus as Prophet Isa.
I saw your video on that. I saw some of your video on that. It was really good.
Oh, thank you so much. He is
the
a
Western world
he
is
is
afraid
a
of the-
holy prophet. He's a holy messenger from God, but he is not God. And so this is important because if you can understand that fact, then it makes more sense to believe that Mary was his partner in life. Because he's just a man. And men need love too. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Here's the thing that people don't understand, and even Christians and everything. If you actually take religion as a whole, okay, and I'm talking every major denomination, okay, you take that and you look at anthropology and history. You have to take 3 of them. You have to take religion, anthropology, and history. Okay, you have to look at all 3. All right. So if we go back to ancient times, shortly after, and I'm going to butcher the name, animism, which is the belief of one of the very first beliefs that's even recorded using pictographs and such, where they worship nature and animals. Okay, now you have to use history in this. So at first, any and all religion was extremely loosely based, very very nature-esque, very very animalistic. And because man didn't know how to cultivate and farm, man was hunter-gatherer. Man followed the herds. Man would meet up with other tribes, and the stories would be similar, not exactly the same, but similar. But as we progressed, as we learned technology, learning how to agriculture, learning how to create herds and livestock and have a sustained type of society. Okay, we went from having polytheist, like we worshipped almost everything.
Right, we went from being like nomadic, tribes to like a more functioning society.
So we went from polytheist of like many gods and goddesses and all that stuff, right? But once we started to civilize and create societies and civilizations, those multitude of gods and goddesses slowly went down. Look at the ancient Babylonian, Sumerian, look at the Greeks, look at the Romans. They ended up going down to like 7, 8, 9 gods, goddesses. That's what they had. They had
the Bauhaus song, "The God in an Alcove." Have you heard the Bauhaus song, "A God in an Alcove"?
Well, I do want to point out though, like at the time of Jesus Christ, like during his life, like Jews still worshipped multiple gods. Like they had all these idols, constantly in their synagogues and in their homes.
You had Kabbalah.
That was like the whole point. What?
You had Kabbalah. Kabbalah. Kabbalah was the worship.
Right. Oh, yes.
Is Jewish mysticism. So what it is you have your main Jewish faith, okay, and you didn't necessarily worship, because this is where the wording gets kind of confusing. It wasn't a worship. Kabbalah is a Jewish mysticism that uses angels and symbolism with the names of the angels, archangels, and all that stuff, so it can be conceived as worship, but with them.
You've heard the story of Moses, right, and the golden calf?
Yes. That was before. That was the like I said, they were trying to be like Egyptians, because Egyptians worshipped gold and worshipped many idols, and so what the Jewish, they were trying to get away from that, and Moses was trying to tell them there's only one God. Well, they still had Kabbalah, because they had the names of the angels. So, but again, as we progressed more and became more civilized, we went from a very very polytheist type of thing to a lot of monotheists. And the first monotheists were like Judaism, was Islam, it was
Yeah.
Trying to think of the other one, but there's another one I can't think off the top of my head besides Christianity. But there's like 3 or 4 monotheist belief structures. They all came and stemmed from these other beliefs. That's why you have such similarities between the story of Christ and the story of Horus, between the story of Christ and the story of Mithra. You
Yes.
know,
Isn't
because
that also
they
because Christians kind of stole other people's stories in order to sell their religion?
part of it, part of it.
If I'm gonna run out of battery pretty soon, so I just want to finish the thought about the Gospel of Mary and Gospel of
Wait,
Judas because
wait,
I was trying to do this
who
thing.
was talking? Was it Wolf? I'm sorry. Can I
Okay.
just finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we let Wolf finish first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So like I was saying, we went from polytheist to monotheist, and that's when we started going, and you had started having that corruption. You started having that grasp for power, because instead of having, a pantheon of gods and goddesses that you could worship, now you have one. Well, you're going to have one guy who is going to be speaking for that one God instead of having multiple. So that one guy that's like, I know what God says. I know God. You have to follow me. If you want to understand, if you want God to forgive you and God to love you and God to bless you, you have to follow me and follow what I say,
But
because
that was
I
not
represent
Jesus
God.
Christ.
It's a
Jesus Christ
recipe
did
for
not do that.
authoritarianism.
No, he did not.
He
But
didn't do that. It was the people who wanted to amass incredible powers and control over everyone. They used Jesus Christ's existence for their own, like, selfish, disgusting desires for how they wanted to shape our humanity. Like, I'm talking about, like, so
Constantine.
yes.
Can we hear from Peace, Travel for Peace, real quick?
Yeah.
Because she's already facing. Thank you.
Hi. Well,
Sorry.
English is not my first language, so I'm
That's
sorry,
okay.
but I live in Norway, and I'm not very religious. But my grandmother, she used to tell me this story that really comes to my mind, and she used to say, "You have to remember 1,000 years ago, several thousand years ago, we were all farmers and hunters and everything, and we lived in, of course, with the nature. So everything we did was in regards to the nature." So whenever we celebrated something, it had to do with the sun and the moon and the nature and how we all lived in contact with the earth. But after some time, men started to envy how we lived in contact with the world and with the earth. So when we celebrated that we took our crops in, that we were thankful for everything the earth gave to us, they took that and they turned it into something else. When we were happy that the sun was turning and the light was coming back, they took that and they turned it into something else. And they started to give those things names, and those names were the names of gods, in order to explain things, because they didn't understand what we were doing. We were happy just living in contact with the nature and thanking the earth for whatever it was giving to us, thanking the animals for giving their lives so we could eat. And they couldn't understand why we did it, so they had to explain it by calling it names and giving the names to the gods. But if we look at it today, the Christianity, when we celebrate Christmas Eve in Norway, that is this almost the same day when we celebrate when the sun is turning. So
Yes.
this for me explains everything. It's really that
Yes.
easy.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
about
what you're
just
saying
living
is
in
so
harmony
beautiful.
with whatever. I mean, if we
There's like historians that can back up what you're saying, because there's all of these like discoveries of ancient civilizations and how all of these structures are literally built with like the alignment of the stars. Like I think it was the star Sirius that is the main focus for the Stonehenge. What,
Stonehenge, yeah.
yeah, and but that's not the only one. Like there's lost civilization, ancient civilizations all over the world that they all focus on this one star. And like it's sorry, I think I'm actually starting to digress from your original point, but I think that what you said was so beautiful, and English might as well be your first language, because like that resonated with me, an English speaker, like so well.
One kind of bombshell because it kind of relates to the whole ending patriarchy. The first Christian Santa was a woman. People don't really talk about that. That makes Santa trans. But the first Christian Santa was a woman. There's probably Santas before Jesus came around. But I heard this story on NPR that the 3 wise men were going through Andalusia, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. There was a wise woman who was the leader of her community. And they invited her to go with them, but she was too busy leading her community, so she couldn't go. But then, she heard about Jesus and everything and was regretful that she couldn't make it to his birth. And so she decided every year to celebrate his birth, she would give all the kids of her community presents. To me, that's the first Christian Santa Claus, but that's a woman.
That is so crazy.
As far as repurposing all of Christianity, because I'm going to have to go pretty soon here, but I really want to say this while you're here because I think you'll understand it. There's the Gospel of Mary, where Jesus tells all the disciples to follow Mary, and they disobey him because Peter mansplains it away and says, well, this world respects men, and I'm a man, so you have to follow me. It's a very similar thing to what Horatio Storer, the American doctor who mansplained gynecology into existence. He mansplained away midwifery and created pro-life. He also created eugenics, which created the World War II Germans. So we know who the bad guys are if we talk about it enough. These guys.
Have you read Pistis Sophia?
Oh yeah, I read it, but the one I'm talking about is the Gospel of Judas.
No, I know. What I'm talking about is totally different, but I was just wondering if you read it, because I just started reading it.
And I read it back when the internet first came out, and it was good, but it was too much. Like I couldn't get a lot out of it because I didn't really understand.
I think what Pistis Sophia is, because Sophia means like knowledge. And so it's basically the story is Jesus teaching his apostles on, I think it was Mount Sinai, or it could have been Mount Olive or whatever. But he was basically teaching them like it's like what he did, but I don't know if it like actually happened or if it was just like a parable or analogy or however he made his teachings. But it was about how he went to go save Sophia, who is like the embodiment of knowledge, from like the denser heavens or like the denser dimensions, because she fell through her own fault and then she was trapped there. And I honestly think that it's a really good analogy of like our society in capitalism today. Like we're all such intelligent beings, but we're just like trapped in this like dense dimension. Like, and we need to be saved by like our salvation comes from Jesus Christ, and he is the analogy of like embodying, like he's the Son of Man. Christians call him the Son of God, but he has never once called himself the Son of God. He's always referred to himself as the Son of Man. And I honestly believe that it is because he is like the new generation of like, he's the Adam for the new generation of humans like 2,000 years ago. And his entire teaching is just grounded in to love each other, like to love yourself and love each other. And be like, just be a human, like have a humanistic approach to life, which we can't achieve in a capitalist society. And so until we're able to have a humanistic approach, such as being like pro-Palestine, like seeing that a genocide to one group of humans is a genocide to all of humanity, like until we're able to all adopt that as humanity, we are going to stay trapped in this dense dimension. No matter how intelligent we are, we're not going to be able to use our intelligence to progress, to be enlightened, to awaken ourselves or whatever. Or maybe we can awaken. I don't know.
Even forcing people to work. So supremacy and Christianity and capitalism are all pretty much the same thing. But the good thing about that is it's a trap. If Jesus is really powerful, if Jesus could see the future, including what Christianity would bring, and he was okay with that, then he'd be a terrible, terrible person. But the actual reality is Jesus could see the future. He could see what all the churches were going to do, all the bad things the churches were going to do, and he had a plan for it. But most people do not know the plan because the plan was not revealed until 2006.
Oh, yeah, tell us the plan.
So the plan is the Gospel of Judas. So I had to put the context of the Gospel of Mary because we know that it went wrong by going patriarchal. Well, Jesus told all the disciples they should have listened to Mary. Jesus also told all the disciples they should stop sacrificing animals. Jesus also told all the disciples, and this one made it into the Bible, that 2 people were sufficient to pray. In the Jewish tradition, it took 10. So he's radically different than...
No, I think he said 3.
Well, 2 or 3. I think he said 2 or 3.
Right. No, I do. Sorry.
We have plenty here. The point being that Jesus was radically different than not just the Jewish religion that he was part of, but the disciples' religion that was also different than the Jewish religion, but the disciples' religion that formed out of it, he's radically different from that. So the Gospel of Judas was discovered in 1950, but it wasn't made aware into the world until 2006. And in the Gospel of Judas, it starts off, we're missing the first part that's missing, but the part that we have starts with Judas laughing at the disciples and basically telling them that they're praying over their food to their God. He's basically saying, you don't know who you're praying to. You have the wrong God. And as it turns out, it's not God. It's the goddess. Because the reason why he has a conversation with Judas in secret, where he tells him these secrets, is because Judas stands up and says, Jesus challenges all the disciples. He says, none of you can stand up. None of you can face me. None of you know where I'm really about. None of you can face me. Judas stands up to face him. He can't look him in the eyes, but he at least stands up to try. And he says, no, I think I can, because I know you are from the immortal realm of Barbelo. Barbelo is probably in the Pistis Sophia. Barbelo is the ultimate divine, and it's a feminine. It's the goddess.
Yeah.
So because Judas knows that Jesus is from the goddess, Jesus takes Judas aside and has secret conversations that nobody else heard. Now, one important thing, is that Jesus told all the disciples, all of them together, stop sacrificing animals. That didn't make it into the Bible. So you've already got the agenda of the people who collect the Bible being against Jesus's direct order to stop sacrificing
I don't
animals.
know what Christians believe, but you know that story of him going inside the synagogue and
Exactly.
tossing the tables. Like, they fail to mention that he unlocked all the cages of all the animals, because they were already monetizing religion even back then.
The reason why the animals were there was because people wouldn't have to bring their animals to sacrifice. They could come to
the reason that the animals
and
were
buy
there was because they were monetizing people's suffering, and they were saying, like, even back then, like, it was like, oh, if you can afford to, then you should pay for an ox to be sacrificed, and all your sins will be forgiven. It's the exact same as the Catholic Church making people pay
indulgences. Yeah.
For salvation. It's the same thing. They're literally, he said, do not turn my father's house into a den of thieves.
But
and it's the same thing that's happening over and over again. And I didn't read the Lost Gospel of Judas, but I did see that in that gospel it explains how, because you know how he's like a traitor in the Bible? It explains, and correct me if I'm wrong, like that, it explains how he's not a traitor. And
you're exactly right.
Ironic. It's so ironic that
but it's very easy to explain why he's not a traitor.
Judas was the most trusted because no other disciple would turn him in. Look,
Exactly.
if you look at the other gospels,
he did his job. I mean,
if you look,
he was really a traitor, then
you have to look at the rest of the scripture to really understand it. Okay, so remember in the scripture where it says, where Jesus talks about, and I can't remember which apostle it was, but it's like, you know, you will deny me thrice before the cock crows. Right. So Jesus already knew that they were all going to.
It was Peter that denied him.
Right.
He knew that none of them would stand up and do what needed to be done to fulfill prophecy. That was the biggest thing. So he knew that Judas would fulfill prophecy because he knew that Judas was a true follower. So what happened was Christ went to Judas and said, I need you to do this. You are going to be condemned. You are going to be marked a traitor. They are going to destroy you. But I need you to do this. And Judas said, yes, Lord. And Judas did it.
He's going to sacrifice his reputation amongst all of humanity for 2,000 years. But then his reputation comes back. So whereas Jesus lost his life, but was celebrated and loved, Judas also lost his life, but was hated for 2,000 years. Now, the key here is every church has split over every issue. Half of Christians believe Jesus has brothers. The other half believe that Mary was so virginal, Jesus doesn't have brothers. But they've split over every single possible thing. The one thing they all agree on is they all hate Judas. So if they realize, if churches start to question and realize, if we were wrong about Judas, what else were we wrong about? That list is long. And like you can keep some songs, you can keep some potato salad, you might even keep your church buildings and use them for better purposes. But the point
Yeah,
is,
like for healing, like they used to be built like with the sound architecture. Like literally, cathedrals were built with sound architecture because churches were supposed to be a place of healing. They would
have you read Ostinsky or Jeff or something? Where did you get the architecture? Have you read Ostinsky?
No, I just saw. I learned about sacred geometry, and obviously, like cathedrals are always used as like examples in sacred geometry, and yeah, I wish I had better sources. I'm sorry. These are just my own deductions from like what I've learned from like sacred geometry. I don't have like.
In that case, I actually have a question because I don't know the churches
Yes,
apart from Norway. But
there
do
was
you have a weapon house in your churches? Like we do?
Wait, do I have in a what?
When you go into a church in Norway, you come into a small little hallway before you come into the church, and it's called a weapon house. It's where you leave your weapons before you go into the church.
Well,
do you have that?
No.
Well, I can kind of give you the reason why for that, though.
When
It
that
goes back to
because
medieval
Norway was
times.
like a big location for World War II.
Hey guys, can we do this again soon? But I do want to hit the last points of the Judas gospel because that's
I'm sorry we keep like
no problem. It's a lot. But you guys already understand that Jesus didn't betray Judas part. Judas was asked to do this. This is in the gospel. Jesus says, "I'm going to ask you to do this thing for which you're going to be hated." But also, this is what leaves Judas out of Christianity. So I know it's hard to even talk about Jesus in Christianity. We have so much religious trauma from it. But Judas was never part of any of this. So you can know that he's the outsider who you can trust to do something about it because he was not responsible for any of the colonialism, any of the empire, any of the boarding schools, any of that stuff. Judas was left out. And Judas was left out to come back and replace it. Jesus tells Judas directly, when you are revealed, which happened in 2006, your church will replace every other Christian church. So just put them on notice and let any Christians you know that while the Trumpers, the Trump-hootineers, are obsessed with burning libraries and oppressing people in bathrooms, we are taking their churches. We are repurposing their churches. That's by Jesus' command. And the churches are not going to be the ones who are going to spread this message because they have their church interests. Basically, they love their church more than they love Jesus. But if you put this question to them, you got to pick Trump or Jesus. It's Antichrist or Christ. And it's happening now. And your church is either going to join the final form of Christianity, the Church of Judas, or it's going to be left behind because it's clinging to itself. It's clinging to...
that Trump is our Judas?
No, Trump is the Antichrist.
Oh, okay.
Who is
our Judas?
Judas is Judas, apparently. I mean, it's weird. Like when Jesus says to Judas, "Your church will replace theirs."
So,
what does he care if he's not a spirit or reincarnated into something?
You know what Judas did do, like after it all, because like the story stops with him giving money to like the soldiers that came and got Jesus, right? What did he do? Because maybe he was like building a church that is gonna like make their debut now.
According to some lore, he hung himself.
Right. According to one part of the Bible, there was a rope and a tree involved.
Yep.
Another part of a Bible, there was a knife and guts involved. Nobody dies two different ways. Sorry, TikTok. I meant nobody leaves this life two different ways. But who comes up with two different stories? A murderer. So did one of the disciples take Judas out? I mean, the point is that this is also probably a murder mystery right around the time that everybody loves true crime. I don't love true crime, but like half the world loves true crime. This is probably the biggest true crime mystery that hasn't been solved ever, but nobody's paying that much attention. But it's all set up this way. Jesus let this stuff happen. He knew that the churches were going to be bad for 2,000 years in order to redeem them with Judas, in order to trap the Christians, in order to trap the tyrants. So we produce Putin. I like to ask the question, do we blame Jesus for Putin? Do we blame Jesus for Mustache Man? Do we blame Jesus for Trump? No, we don't blame Jesus for those characters, but we should blame Christianity. And that shows where...
And not even just Christianity. Like, let's look at the source. Let's blame Vatican City. Like, let's blame the Vatican. Because let's, ask ourselves, where is Vatican City?
But also...
Rome!
The Vatican in Rome, Peter's church, is not worse than the Russian Orthodox Church that's blessing Putin's nuclear bomb, Satan.
Okay, yeah, maybe
know?
they're not worse in their actions today, but they're definitely worse in their history. Like, because the Vatican is who put
Yeah.
together the Bible.
They may have accumulated the worst sin.
Christian, you're Catholic because you're following the book that the Catholics put together.
Well, see,
They're also
You're-
really rich, and you could use that
you're-
money to do a lot of good.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
really
You think
going-
if Jesus Christ came up to the Vatican, you think he'd be like, "Oh wow, like thank you so much"? No, he would literally say, "Why are you turning my father's house into a den of thieves?"
But see, here's where you're kind of. This is where you start running into the problems, though. Okay, because you want to blame the Vatican Church, which I've been to Rome, I've been to Vatican many times. I heard Pope John Paul II give sermon in Latin. Okay,
what does that mean?
The day after the Church of the day after the Gospel of Judas was published, probably the most attention it's gotten so far. I wrote a book about it, and I make a lot of videos under the hashtag Church of Judas.
Buying your
But
book.
the day after it was published, Pope Benedict, I believe, came out and said, "Don't listen to any of this new information."
I'm sorry, just because you
feel
listen to a
bad.
pope doesn't mean anything to me because
Well,
I think
no,
popes are evil.
But well, okay. So a couple things. Okay, so here's what you have to, again. You have to look at history. You can't just
I'm a
look
pope.
at.
It's more like
So-
history.
like experience that you get when you heard somebody like that. I mean, it's not going to change.
So here's what it boils down to. Okay, if you look at different things such as the Crusades, you can't just blame the Pope at the time or the Roman or the Roman Church. And the reason for this is because you had kings that would influence and would say, "Hey, I want to do this," and they would have to pay basically almost like a dowry in a sense to
what
the
about
church to
Jesus?
allow the church to allow it. But
What about
here's the thing.
the King of Kings?
I really think that anything that you have to say to defend
We'll do it
Pope,
again soon.
it
Thank you.
really does boil down to this. The current Pope that we have today is probably the most progressive Pope.
And he still sucks.
He's still, you know what he's working hard on trying to do to fix the system. He's trying to allow, and I was raised Catholic. Everyone around me is Catholic. They love this Pope, and I'm like, what is it about this Pope that makes you feel like he's actually
I don't.
solve the problems that we are facing in this year, in 2025? What is he doing? You know what he's doing? You know what their answer is? He's trying to allow all of the bishops, like archbishops around the world, he's trying to get them to allow girls to be,
Okay.
what are they called? Altar servers. And I'm like, that's the problem he's trying to fix.
That's
In
the fun.
2025, he thinks that that's going to be the end all, like whatever solution to all of the problems that we have. He doesn't want to touch on the pedophilia in Catholicism.
No.
He doesn't want to touch on the blatant like suppression of information that is directly related to Catholicism.
This is because I was active duty military at the time. But so when I went to Vatican, right, and went to go see all that stuff, right, and I got to hear Pope John Paul II give sermon in Latin. To me, that was a really cool experience, and I'll explain why. Pope John Paul II was the first pope, and I'm not trying to make the pope sound be amazing or whatever, but what he did, a couple of his actions, is what made me have respect for him. So he went to the Middle East, and he went to one of the biggest synagogues or whatever for Muslims, right? Let their leaders do their sermon type stuff or whatever, right? And he listened to it and everything else like that. And he went to them, the religious leaders of the area he was in. I can't remember which part of the Middle East with Muslims he was in, but he went to their religious leaders and he asked permission if he could do a sermon, and not in their holy temple, but out in the street, because he respected them and he respected their belief, and he was not going to tarnish their belief, but he would like the opportunity if they would allow him to give a Christian or Catholic sermon in the street.
You
So-
respect another man.
I mean,
The Pope is just a man. You respect him just for having the
all
wherewithal.
right, let me ask you this: do you think Jesus had money? Do you
to
think?
afford respect to another group of people who have differing opinions than him, because
No.
buddy,
It's
That's
fine.
every day.
But I always wondering if Jesus, he was born. Look at it how the Bible say how Jesus was born. Because
Yeah.
I was raised Catholic too, but I like what you guys talk. I mean, I consider putting my faith extremely close. I don't trust everybody and religion. But you got to consider how Jesus was saying that he was born. All right, he was born between animals in a farm. All right, and then do you think Jesus, once he did his gospel, once he grew up, did he got money? Did he got properties where he can stay while he went and talk around Jerusalem and all those cities or whatever?
They gave all the money away.
Okay, but he did have money. He could have money, right?
He could have.
I think they were
Okay,
giving it away. It's like
yeah, that's what I was wondering, because
when the devil
how
asked
he would
Jesus,
how would he finance his travelings and his apostles?
like hippies do today. In the
He was a carpenter's son. He knew how to do stuff.
All right, cool. Yeah,
you have the
sounds good.
support of the people.
So, but Puffin, thank you so much for inviting me. I really hope we get to do
For being here. We'll
Yeah.
talk again
I'm
soon.
gonna buy your book. I have so many questions for you, and I would love for us to like continue this dialogue. Like I
definitely.
appreciate you so much.
I want to hone in on one more thing, that like when you're reassessing all Christian beliefs, starting with Judas is actually the hero, Judas is actually a good guy, and everything else might be wrong too. Evangelism is wrong. Conversion is wrong.
Because God gave us free will, because love equates to freedom. His love for us is in our free will, and for us to like make people do the things that we want them to do directly contradicts that. So in that way, you're actually getting in God's way. It's
Well,
the same as when Israeli government is calling Palestinians subhuman. It's like, bro, God literally created them to be human beings. So for you, a mere human, to declare that these humans that God created to be human is you directly saying that you know better than God.
Well,
And
one of
there's-
the worst things.
I can't.
One of the worst things they do is they're like, hey, we're going to save you from hell. So we can do the very worst things to you in life to save you from hell. That's not true. Hell isn't real. Hell is a threat.
Hell, okay.
The whole conversion thing.
Like, and I think it's like our states of consciousness.
Well, we
No,
can make hell here. We make plenty
actually,
of hell.
hell is okay. There's two things hell is based off of. One, hell is based off of the Jewish Sheol, which is like the gray area, where it's kind of like limbo. Okay, that's the first thought of hell. Okay, is that's where it
Not
first came
that
from.
bad.
Is that now the actual thought of hell as we know it today, or as we consider it today, the hellfire and all that stuff, right, comes from a, what was it, 14th or 15th century Italian poet who did the Divine Comedy.
No, that's Dante.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the other source of hell that I think is really interesting that a friend
I
of mine
have
told
to
me
know,
about.
but
Yeah.
I appreciate you. But if you're recording this, post this part because I want to hear about this part. Post this part. Okay, bye.
I'll try to post it all. Thanks. I gotta go soon too. But yeah, my friend told me that hell also comes from the, I guess, Norse. I'm not sure. I think it's a Norse god named Hel. And the interesting thing about her afterlife is it was identical to heaven, except fake. Which, when you think about it, it's like if something's identical to heaven but fake, that's actually pretty nice. If the only problem is it's fake, then it really kind of comes down to every time you die, you're either in fake heaven or real heaven. But it seems pretty nice. You might be able to do better.
Well, there's you also have to look at the ancient Greeks with the Hades and the Elysian Fields and Tartarus, and which is another one of the concepts of where it kind of came from, because you have, like I said, you have all these different religions that predate Christianity, and so the Christian concept of hell is kind of a hodgepodge. It's kind of a melting pot.
As it spread around the world, it's going to pick up different things. I am going to close it down now because there will be no chance of me posting this live if it's way too long. It just won't work very well technically. So we'll do it next time. But thanks so much, Wolf. Thanks so much, Alex, and thanks everybody for being here. And this was my most successful live so far. So you guys were awesome. Thanks for making it that way. I'm glad I invited folks, and some of you showed up. and or if you just found it via TikTok pathways. But anyway, thanks, love you. I'll talk to you soon. Welcome to the
All
church.
right, Puffy.
Oh, I'll say my blessing. Goddess bless you, Jesus bless you, Mary bless you, Judas bless you, I bless you, and bless yourself.
Cool, man.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You too.
Yep.